You're also watching Breakfast Central on News Central. We are Africa First. And talking of Africa, definitely we are going straight to the southern part. Well, the South African Police Service and the Department of Correctional Services are investigating the alleged death of Thabo Bester, a convicted rapist and murderer who is believed to have faked his death and escaped from prison. The Department of Correctional Services reported that Bester died in Mangwang Correctional Center in May 2022. It was initially believed that Bester set himself alight in his cell.
However, South African news publication Ground Up has been reporting on a variety of evidence that indicates that Bester could have faked his death and escaped. Now, leaked photos suggest he is now living in Sandton. Bester was convicted of raping and robbing two aspirant models who he had approached via Facebook, pretending to be a model scout. He was sentenced to more than 50 years imprisonment, which was later reduced to 30 years. Later, he was sentenced to life for murdering and raping a third woman. Now, joining us is the Ground Up reporter, Marisha Damons. Good morning, Marisha. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Really shocking story. And every time, you come across, this, it really just sends chills, down your spine. Let's start with the escape, and evidence that Bester might not have died in that fire in May 2022. Tell us about, how Ground Up came up, to know all of this.
So from what we do know, Bester was busy serving a life sentence at the Mangaung prison in Bloemfontein, which is actually a maximum security prison. And sometime last year in early May, the Department of Correctional Services issued the statement saying that he had died in a cell after a fire had broken out. But since then, there have been many suspicious circumstances surrounding that incident. And Ground Up has since revealed that soon before the fire broke out, Thabo Bester was actually moved to a corner cell. And to our understanding, what was strange about this was that the CCTV cameras in the prison couldn't really see well into that cell. What we also know is that the CCTV cameras facing towards the exit of the prison were apparently not positioned correctly on the morning of the fire. And we also know that the CCTV camera footage actually captured two people hastily exiting the prison moments before this fire had broken out. And to add to suspicious circumstances, the autopsy report revealed that the body which was found in the cell actually didn't die due to the injury sustained from the fire, but it was actually dead before the fire started, and because of death was actually a blunt force head injury and not due to the fire. And what we know is that up until now, the DNA still has not the DNA has still not positively confirmed that the body found in that cell was that of Thabo Bester. So there have just been several suspicious circumstances surrounding that incident.
Well, very suspicious, if you say. Well, according to Ground Up News last year, on the 11th of June, 2022, a prison warder at Mangwang Correctional Center sent an email to the Deputy Minister of Correctional Services, actually informing him that Bester was alive and was assisted to escape. Now, this suggests that prison officials knew of his escape for at least a year now. And since they knew of his escape, and that picture that we also put up not long ago, I don't know if we can get that picture up as well, where it shows that he is still alive and kicking. What has been done to apprehend him or to find him and bring him back to prison right before the courts, and also what really has been done as we speak right now?
So up until now, the relevant authorities have remained very tight-lipped about the status of their investigation. Obviously, with each report that we have published, we have reached out to them, asking them for an update, to follow up on whether any warrants for arrest have been handed out. But up until now, the general response that we have constantly received is that since the investigation is still ongoing, they are not in any position to confirm or deny any of the information that we have revealed in our report so far. So up until now, it's just that the investigation is still ongoing and not much has been done up until now.
All right. Has anyone, because I think on Twitter a few weeks ago, saw a picture of someone who they claimed to have escaped from prison or also was supposedly arrested. Was that meant to be Thabo Bester? And also, how dangerous is this? If he truly did escape from prison and is living in South Africa today, how much of a danger is this to women?
So obviously, since it hasn't been confirmed that it is Thabo Bester, we cannot say for sure that the man who we have seen making rounds on social media through pictures and some videos is definitely him. But I think the danger in this is that we need to remember why Thabo Bester was arrested and why he was sentenced to prison. I mean, this is a convicted rapist and he is a convicted murderer. And in a country like South Africa, where the gender-based violence rates are incredibly high, it is very shocking that the progress of this investigation has been at a snail's pace. And it is very scary, I think, just as a woman, to know that there's this potential that someone who was convicted for such a heinous crime may very well still be out there.
Yeah, and also, can you also share about the actual possibilities, and this is, maybe an indictment on the prison system in South Africa, and of course, so is this actually possible? Is there, some level of corruption in the prison system that would make this possible in any way?
So that's what we don't know, because this investigation is still ongoing, and I think that when this investigation wraps up, that information and those answers, or those questions rather, should be answered about how it would have been possible for a convicted rapist and a convicted murderer to somehow manage to escape a maximum security prison. Because if it was indeed him who escaped, and if the DNA from the body shows that it wasn't him who died, I think that authorities will have a lot to answer to.
All right. I mean, it's been a long time since 2022, and we are in 2023, approaching the end of March. What are the other news sources saying? Has there been any investigation that's ongoing from the security operatives? And most importantly, has the prison in which he was in, has it been indicted of any actions or inappropriate actions in aiding and abetting the escape of a criminal? Do you have any of these information?
No, so these are the exact same questions that we have posed to the Department of Correctional Services, as well as to the police. And as I mentioned earlier, the response that we are always receiving is that the investigation is still ongoing. So there's not much that they can confirm or deny at this stage.
Okay. I can see that, the prison authorities are still claiming that he, of course, was burnt in the fire. And of course, burnt to death. I'm guessing there's also going to be a coroner's report that would be investigated. Someone needs to be certain, who and who exactly might be a party to this crime, if it is found that he is still alive. I'm personally just worried about women, in South Africa, at this time. So I want you to quickly share your views on the safety of women and protection of women and girls in South Africa. How much more work needs to be done by the South African government and the South African society?
So obviously, as I mentioned earlier, the rates of gender-based violence in South Africa are rather high, and I think that the general response from women in the country is that not enough is being done to ensure their safety. And I think, just to take it back to the Thabo Bester story, for anyone who might have thought that maybe the authorities took the safety of women and children seriously would have serious doubts at this stage, just given how this matter has been dealt with. So I still think that as a country, we do have somewhat of a long way to go where the protection of women and children is concerned.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, Ground Up reporter Mauricia Damons. Thank you for bringing all the information. Hopefully, when we get an update, you will definitely hit back and let us know what it is.
Yes, definitely.